So dear children, in your learning till now, you have done very well with the concept of Gauss theorem. What exactly is Gauss theorem? And the concept of electric flux also. But the fact is, what is the use of Gauss theorem? So what exactly is the application of Gauss theorem? That is our next topic. In fact, you have also done superposition principle and you have also done with the Gauss theorem now. You can understand that in case if we are looking for electric field due to not few point charges, in case if we are looking electric field for a continuous distribution of charge, just imagine that I have a rod on which charge is distributed uniformly all over. So it's a line charge distribution. And due to this charge distribution, I am looking for the electric field at a point P. Now, one option is superposition principle. There, the method would be that I will take a small portion here. Maybe it has a charge dq. And due to this, we'll find electric field here, say dE. So dE will have two components, d cos theta and d sin theta. And then we will have a corresponding charge here also. It will also have its component d cos theta and d sin theta. So we'll have these two small portion will give you a net electric field which is d sin theta, but when you are looking for the whole electric field, you will have to integrate dE sin theta, 2d sin theta. So it's going to be a relatively difficult task to find electric field in this situation due to continuous charge distribution using superposition principle. On the other hand, we can use Gauss theorem, and using Gauss theorem we can find the electric field in a much easy way without doing much of efforts and much of calculations. Gauss theorem provides a very easy method to find the electric field in this continuous charge distribution. Same is the case when you have a charge distributed maybe in a surface and you are looking for the electric field due to it, or maybe when you are looking for the charge distribution in a volume and due to that you are looking for the electric field at some point. So in all these cases where you have line charge distribution or surface charge distribution or volume charge distribution, Gauss theorem will provide you a very easy method to find the electric field as compared to superposition principle, which will be really a difficult task to use it here to find electric field. So I'll be taking now the applications of Gauss theorem one by one, where we'll find electric field using Gauss theorem due to continuous distribution of charge. So the first case which I take, first application is electric field due to line charge distribution. Line charge, where we have a linear charge density, lambda. So charge is distributed in a line and we can say it has a linear charge density, charge per unit length has lambda. So we assume there is an infinite long rod which has charge distributed everywhere. It may be a uniform distribution of charge. The situation is, due to this, I am looking for the electric field at a point P, maybe at a distance r from here. So we have certain steps. These steps will be the same in all the 4 applications, important applications that we'll study here. Step 1 is, as it is also available in the form of text to you, assume a Gaussian surface such that point where you want electric field lies on it. So assume a Gaussian surface such that point P lies on it. The shape of the Gaussian surface should be preferably same as that of the source charge. So here I assume a Gaussian surface which is a cylinder of radius r. So I have assumed a Gaussian surface such that point P lies on it, and the shape of the Gaussian surface should be preferably same as that of the source charge. So source charge was on a cylindrical rod. So I have assumed a Gaussian surface which is cylindrical. I said preferably should be same as that of the source charge. It can be some other shape, but preferably we would like to take it cylindrical only. So this is step 1. Now step 2. Step 2 is look for the direction of electric field. So in this situation, in this arrangement, look for the direction of electric field. What kind of electric field this source of charge can produce. So like here, I can say the electric field that it will provide will be obviously normal, like this, over here also. So this source of electric charge will provide you electric field which is normal to the surface from where the charge exists. Now third point, take a patch on every kind of surface. So third point is take a patch on every kind of surface. So step 3 is take a patch on every kind of surface. Now just imagine how many kind of surfaces can you see in this arrangement. So I would help you. One surface is this, I call it curved surface. Its area vector will be here in the direction of electric field. The other surface, I take this one. This is left flat surface. So its area vector ds will be here, which is perpendicular to electric field. Similarly, let's talk about right flat surface. So if I take a patch over here, its area vector ds is here. So as a whole, you can see in this arrangement I was having I have distributed them like 3 kind of surfaces: left flat surface, right flat surface, and curved surface. Now for this curved surface, if I say for curved surface, so take a patch on every kind of surface and find flux through it. This is step 3. So if I take a patch on curved surface and then I find the flux, for the curved surface, for the small patch, E dot ds will be E ds cos 0. So the small flux will be this much. If I say for the flux through curved surface, total flux, it will be E into ds. Now assume you can say the length of this rod is L. That is because only inside charge matters. So let's say the length of this rod is L and radius of this Gaussian surface is R, already we know. So if I say what is curved surface area, your answer is 2 pi RL. So we have obtained the flux through the curved surface area, E into 2 pi RL. Now let's talk about left flat surface. Left flat surface. In case of left flat surface, area vector is here and electric field is here. So the flux through left flat surface will be E dot ds, E ds cos 90. So the flux through left flat surface will be 0. And total flux through left flat surface will again be 0. So this is our second equation, second result. Third, let's take right flat surface. On this right flat surface, the area vector is here and electric field is here. So we'll say d phi right flat surface is again E dot ds, E ds cos 90. So it is 0 and thus the flux through right flat surface will also be 0. So that step 3, I think it is very clear. Take a patch on every kind of surface and then find the flux through it. So here in this whole arrangement, we have obtained certain result. I am just writing it here. And then I will introduce step 4. So the outcome of step 3 is we took a patch on every kind of surface and then we find the flux through it. So we obtained flux through curved surface is E into 2 pi RL, flux through left flat surface and flux through right flat surface is 0. So the net flux is E into 2 pi RL. I can call it equation number 4. Next step, step 4. Step 4 is look for the charge within Gaussian surface. Again I'll repeat, look for the charge within Gaussian surface because you know only inside charge matter. Now how to find the charge within Gaussian surface? So if I'm looking for the charge within Gaussian surface, it is just this much charge. The outside charge of the rod has no impact on the net flux. It is only this much charge. Now how much will be the charge on this? Can I say charge inside is lambda into L? If linear charge density is lambda and the length here is L, so what is charge inside lambda L? And then finally apply Gauss theorem. So step 5. So now we have final step, step 5. You have already find the net flux. You have already found the charge inside. Apply Gauss theorem. So that is net flux is equal to charge inside by epsilon naught. The net flux you have obtained is E into 2 pi RL and charge inside is lambda L by epsilon naught. So the electric field is 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda by r, where lambda is the linear charge density and r is the distance of the point P where you are looking for the electric field. So it may appear to you, because if you are watching it first time, if you are trying to understand it first time, it may appear to you a little lengthy. But the fact is that if you keep in mind those 5 steps and these basic ideas, it has not much to do. Here you are not putting much of integration. Here you are not making it a complex mathematical equation over here. Very simple. Again I'll repeat, the first step is assume a Gaussian surface such that point P lies on it. Preferably, the shape of the Gaussian surface should be same as that of the source charge. So you assumed a Gaussian surface that was a cylinder over here and point P is on it. Its radius is r, same as distance of point P from this line charge. Second step, look for the direction of electric field. So you looked for the direction of electric field radially outward. Third step, take a patch on every kind of surface and find the flux through it. So you find the flux through curved surface E into 2 pi RL, where flux through left flat and right flat surface is 0, EDS cos 90. Step 4. Step 4 is you find, look for the charge inside. So whatever is the charge inside this Gaussian surface, that only add to the net charge inside. So charge inside, you can say lambda L, or if surface charge density or volume charge density accordingly. And then step 5, apply Gauss theorem, which says net flux is equal to charge inside by epsilon naught. So in a way, Gauss theorem is guiding you what to do. First you look for the flux, then you look for the charge inside, and then apply Gauss theorem. So as a whole, again I'll repeat, the result is that in case if you have an infinite long rod where the charge is distributed uniformly all over with a linear charge density, say lambda, and at a distance r, at a point P, you are looking for electric field, the electric field will have a value 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda by r, and the direction of electric field is normally out. Yes, this linear charge density you can always find. You can always say that if the whole rod was carrying a charge Q and the length of whole rod was L, then lambda is Q by L.